Hold
How you
on.
been doing?
I've been doing well. I'm trying to figure out what happened to my OBS and why. Oh, I know what happened. Nothing happened to my OBS. Something happened to my
Oh
VR
yeah,
chat.
dude.
It's no longer in full screen. Let me fix that. Alt.
Well, dude, nothing
Enter.
ever happens.
Yay! What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Music Box, the show where I, Bimler, enjoyer of music, show an album to my friend Pyrine.
Hi, I'm Pyrine. I just want to say to the person that's been stalking me and left a Radiocat badge on my way back from school for me to find on the ground, I am onto you. I'm onto you. And if you keep escalating this shit, I will throw hands. I know like jujitsu.
How do you
I
know it
know like
wasn't
kick
me?
flips and shit like that. Because if it was you, it would have been worse.
There wouldn't have been a radio cat, Ben. There
No, it
would have
would've
been
just
a
been a bomb.
bomb.
I would have been like, oh my god, is that a shiny quarter on the ground?
And after a week of listening to it, we meet up and discuss. This episode, we're doing Radiohead's Hail to the Thief, their 6th studio album and their final one under their label. An interesting record, generally overshadowed by a lot of those that surround it. Their longest album, I believe, at least the one with their most songs, and one that was recorded in but 2 weeks. I really like this album. If you've heard me talk about Radiohead before, I place it solidly at number 5, which is smack in the middle of their discog. But that's kind of an understatement. I think it's a really great record, as you'll hear me talk about in this video. Quite a big Hail to the Thief fan. It's their most energetic album. It's their angriest album. It's their most experimental, like in terms of the band trying new things. It has the most ideas on it. All of which we'll kind of delve into. But yeah, generally, I've liked Hail to the Thief, and I was excited for this episode. But what about you, Mr. Pyrine?
Well, I gotta admit, just out of the gate, there is a lot to talk about concerning this album. Specifically, to one
Yes.
point, you said there's a lot of ideas that go with this album. That is
Yes.
true throughout the entire thing. There are tons of it, um, and it makes it a bit of a daunting task to get into. Um, I will say I generally did like this album. I don't think it's going to be my favorite, come whatever the final rating is at the end.
No.
Um, because I think when in terms of like my general experience with this album, it was actually like the themes that kind of won me out more than the composition itself. Because I
Ooh.
actually thought a lot of the themes were very, very interesting. I thought they asked a lot of really good questions. That's like good points. But I think the composition, this is something I could talk more about. I think it's at the kind of point when it comes to Radiohead where it's starting to feel formulaic. There's a
Mm.
few of these tracks I think this entire album that like feel very similar to each other. Feel like they kind of explore the same compositional space, not ideas specifically. That is different.
Yeah.
Either ones that have been done in the album already or tracks before in earlier albums, stuff like that. You know what I mean? That didn't really win me over,
Mm.
but there's still some good stuff in here. In fact, that's a really good way to put it. There's a lot of like good individual things in here like ore. Does that make sense? Like a gold ore. There's a bit of rough edges around there,
Mm-hmm.
but there's also a lot of good stuff in there too. You can kind of get to see it. That's kind of been my experience with it.
No, that's true. I mean, I think it definitely has the biggest variety and quality out of any Radiohead record. I think, besides maybe
Yeah.
The King of Limbs, it has some of their best stuff and some of their weakest stuff. Quite a few tracks on this record, I'm very impassioned about how much I love them. And some of them, I could either go here nor there. One that I'm interested to talk about at some point is a lot of people's favorite on the record, the song "There There." I have always had the take, but anytime I hear somebody talk about "Hail to the Thief," they're like, "Record's okay. There There is a top Radiohead song. It's one of my one of the best they've ever written." I don't see it. I like There There. I think There There is a great song, but it is like bottom half of the record for me. I am
No,
not.
I agree. I agree. I listened to it. I thought it's like fun. It's a
Yeah,
really interesting one with like,
the
the tribal
ending is
drums and stuff
great.
like that. And the ending is fucking. I love it. But
Yeah,
it's just kind of like compared to some of the other tracks, it doesn't stick out as much. It just feels like an idea that it just it sits there. It's not unpleasant. It's not standoutish
yeah,
either.
yeah. No, and it gets a little bit repetitive, I think, as well. That drum beat is cool, but by the end of the song, it's like, okay, I'd like it when they spice it up a little bit. But yeah, no, there's good. I appreciate it, but in terms of like what it's going for and being a more grand sort of song, I think it's done much better in other places on the record. I mean, go no further than the opener, 2 + 2 = 5. That song is like undebatably amazing. It's, oh my god. The start of it's very cool, very epic, very very sinister, kind of carrying over the themes from Amnesiac. Like it feels very dark. And the way the lyrics come in, almost a little ghastly, kind of taunting in a way. But then when the song explodes, oh my god.
You said it yourself, like when we were first talking about this. It carries it's the thing that's carried up in the entire album, but there's a very, very clear underlying tone of anger and frustration throughout the entire thing.
Yes.
It comes through in 2 + 2 = 5. It comes through in basically in every single track, I think at least a little bit. In some tracks, it really comes out. I have a bit of mixed feelings sometimes on how it's done, but in 2 + 2 = 5, it is great. It feels like a cold, bitter anger, like one that's taken in reservation, where it's like you can't do anything about it. You can only sit there and be angry because things are the way they are, which makes sense with the themes of the album itself having to go with a lot of, let's say, political themes. They come up quite a bit. And in terms of politics, that is a common sentiment for many people, but also like governmental struggles, war. That's a big one that comes up in the album a lot. Celebrity culture and media, that comes up kind of later. It's a lot of things.
Sorry, my brain. I liked what you said about the cold anger. I think that also carries over to the second track, Sit Down, Stand Up. And I feel like that's the only time the album really ever repeats itself, as Sit Down, Stand Up very much to me feels like a different flavor of 2 + 2 = 5. Like it's structurally basically the same, but instead of being as linear, it repeats itself more, and the ending, instead of being very guitar-driven, is very electronic. But structurally, it's very similar. Thematically, it's basically the same. But I love both songs. The Raindrops.
The Raindrops.
Unironically, a highlight moment on the record. I know it gets memed all the time, but that part is sick. And then you just start jamming out. When the drums come in, it's like, oh man. It's good. I like that song.
It is. It's a very solid opener. I think just in terms of the quality of the album, though, it does fluctuate a lot, at least in terms of my enjoyment. I think the themes mostly stay on point for the entire thing. There's like 1 or 2 tracks I might talk about that I think kind of fall flat. But in terms of like the actual quality, one thing you said was repetitive, and I think that carries to a lot of tracks on this record, that they can kind of get repetitive. They open up with a line, they keep going with the main, sort of vibe, and they don't really change it as they keep just kind of sitting there, which I don't know if that's the intention or not. That might be because, there's the idea of being stuck in a situation you can't change. You can't like overthrow the government and get rid of all these laws that you don't like. It's not something that you can just do, at least on your own. But I think in terms of like my enjoyment for the composition, that probably was one of the things that kind of turned me off to it. Because at some point the tracks start blending together. Like I think when it comes to a lot of the tracks that open with like a piano riff, I'm talking about those big grand piano moments.
Yes.
They blend together for me. Like they're all good, but they just kind of like, they all do the same thing compositionally. And that to me is like, okay, are they running out of ideas, or is this the point?
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that take in terms of specifically the piano songs, because there's only like a few of them on the record, right? I'm thinking Sail to the Moon,
3.
there's Punch Up at a Wedding. I'm trying to think of the third, if there is a third. Me.
Maybe there isn't a third.
I think it is just 2.
Or was I stupid?
No, there's only 2 piano songs. But
okay, I'm stupid.
It's okay.
Well, those 2 get mixed up for me then.
Okay,
thanks.
You're wrong.
How?
Because they don't. Okay, Sail the Moon is a highlight for me. When I first listened to this album, when I was first getting into Radiohead, it was my favorite song on the album. I love Sail to the Moon. It's very spacious, very, very floaty, slow, easygoing, and sentimental. It's a song about his son, right? And It's great. I love Sail the Moon. And there's also a lot of rhythmic complexities. It's like I think the most complex Radiohead song, like in terms of time signatures and whatever. Punch Up at a Wedding, the other song with the piano, on the other hand, I think is a bit more. It's angrier for sure. I'm trying to think of a way to phrase it. It's like the only thing I can think of is comparing it to other songs. It reminds me of "Give Me an Answer" off of "Once in a Long, Long While," but it's very like almost a marching, slow-moving anger. Maybe passive-aggressive would be the right term. And I think that distinguishes the songs pretty well, although I will say Punch Up at a Wedding, not with Sail to the Moon, but with the rest of the album kind of blends in. I'm not crazy about that track.
No, you might be true. I guess it's also a thing that okay, when I first listened to this album, I thought the first three tracks were kind of banger. But when I listened to Sailor Moon like, the next few times, I kind of started to like it less. Not because of the instrumentation. I agree with you on the instrumentation. I think the composition is great. I think Tom is great. That one is one I think the themes fall off onto me because I literally had to pull up Genius and look it up to see what the hell he was talking about. And even then it was like it's just kind of like I don't get it. Like he's just kind of saying things. It's not really clicking with me. I didn't really feel it. Which compared to the other songs was like, okay, I get what they're doing. Like I see the picture they're painting. Here it's just kind of like it is. It doesn't really form a picture. It doesn't really create an image. It's just nice. And I will say, I don't care for a Punch Up at the Wedding. I don't care for it as a song. I think it's fine, but it is a skipper for me. That and I Will are just two tracks I just don't care
No,
about.
I Will.
I
love I Will though. Man, I love I Will. I'm gonna gush about I Will because you can't stop me. But I love it because Tom has gone on record saying it's the angriest thing he's ever written, or at least up to that point. Despite it being a very quiet song, it's mostly vocals and guitar. Very quiet guitar in that. And I absolutely adore it. I think it's a very simple, punctual declaration of discontent, of frustration, and kind of grief in a way. Apparently he was inspired to write it by seeing pictures of like aftermaths of war, specifically in the Middle East, seeing kids' pictures and dead bodies and shit. I could be wrong about that, but I'm almost certain that is the case. And he wrote that song, and I think I don't know. I think I Will is for what it is kind of perfect. I really like that song. I don't know.
I just don't see it. Like I get what the theme is doing. I get what he's trying to do, but I do not feel it. They say it's a song about him being angry. I don't feel the anger. I feel resentment. I feel that like suppressedness of it. Like I just don't feel it like a strike of a chord. It's just more like a low drone to me. It doesn't do it for me. It is too short. It does not spend enough time actually exploring that idea when I feel like the first two tracks do it. Like that idea of exploding cold anger much better. And it just doesn't stick. It doesn't distinguish itself to other Radiohead songs I've seen. It kind of just runs by some of the same tracks, and I just found it to be probably my least favorite song on the record, like right next to Punch. I just don't care for it.
Dang. That sucks, because I disagree, but fair enough. I mean, it is very understated. In terms of favorites, though, one that I think we got to talk about, because it's one that I think gets way too much shit from literally everybody, is The Gloaming. I love The Gloaming. I adore The Gloaming. It's a contender for my favorite song on the record. It's got the coolest sounds, I think. And even though the lyrics are repeated, that's the point. And the way they are delivered and the phrasing is very potent to me.
I thought they were pretty good. Like, honestly, I thought The Gloaming had some of the best lyrics on the entire record. I really enjoyed them.
Yes.
I picked on it a lot more than I thought it would, especially the theme. Like talking about the rise of fascism and all of that, and how you kind of get implicated into that.
Yep.
I enjoy that. I thought it was very well done. I just think it was one of those songs it's composed well, where it knows what its idea wants to be. It knows what it's going to do. It is a finished product of a song. It's very satisfying from that. it's not like my favorite by any means, but I can appreciate it for what it is because it's a complete art piece of a song.
No, true. And I don't know. I love some of the live versions of it. I know you haven't seen them, but they throw in a lot of a cool bass guitar in that. I'll probably show you when we watch In Rainbows from the Basement, because I do plan on showing you that. But yeah, no, The Glowing it's obviously one of the band's favorite songs. They play it at every live set, or they played it at every live set. Like, that was one of the mainstays from Hail to the Thief. And a lot of people don't really care for it, and I don't know. It does this paranoid it feels like a more paranoid kind of anger. I feel like a lot of these songs are flavors of anger.
Yeah.
But this song
you're right.
is like, I've always loved the way the line "murderers, you're murderers, we are not the same as you" is delivered in the song. That always stuck out to me. It's really cool.
No, it's like at the end of this entire sequence where like a fascist government has risen up. That's the one person that's still crying out, like, "What are you doing? Look what you have done by supporting the system and turning a blind eye to the atrocities it's caused. Look what you've done." It's that kind of anger, I think.
I think of it, that, and also just like a very like, and the big line at the end of the song being like, "Your alarm bells should be ringing." It feels like it is a lot of it's reflective of real life circumstance, and I think one of the themes in it is police. They say shadows blue and red, which in my brain refers to sirens, police lights, and the "murderers with your murderers" line also, I think, refers to them. A lot of the I'll get political. I'll stand by it. A lot of the the song kind of, that line makes an effort to sort of dehumanize whatever they're talking about. Like, "murderers, we're not the same as you. Like, you are something else from us, like the people." And I think that's really effective in the song. Yeah, no, I feel like we're talking about The Glowing way too long. It's a good song. I like it.
I want to talk about the song that came before it, "We Suck Young Blood," because I think that song actually might have my favorite theme of the
Really?
entire album, concerning Hollywood culture.
I
And how
mean,
that kind of stuff can
yeah.
suck people into it.
Yeah.
I really like it because it's one of those songs that I think, at least in a more personal way to me, has grown up beautifully. Like, it is aged beautifully to like the modern day. I think it is a one that it's almost surprising to me how well it's held up since 2000, because everyone talks about like OK Computer and all that stuff. Like, oh my god, it's so timeless. I feel like this does a really good job at it too. It's talking more about a personal level to it. In fact, that's something I really like about the entire album, is it kind of switches between wider views of like an entire like a culture, government, country thing, to a more personal level to the individual, and how people can kind of get sucked into that from these like institutions, organizations that are literally meant to draw you in and reshape your brain so that you can't leave and that you're going to like follow along with them. Not only does it tie into like the rest of the album well, because you can kind of switch out, getting sucked into Hollywood and celebrity culture with literally anything else, getting tied to like a fascist government that is currently rising, getting tied into warmongering and conservative politics back into 2000. It all kind of connects together, and I thought it was just very poignant. It's a
True.
little cheesy at points, but it was poignant, and I enjoyed it from that.
I think the biggest complaints that are levied against "We Suck Young Blood," which is very much a less popular song on the record, and it is one of my lesser favorites, is from two things. One, it is corny, I think. As much as I like the themes and I like the way it discusses it, it's very corny, especially with the delivery. I always make fun of those yee ass claps at the end of every measure.
It is.
And the second being that the song edges you. I hate that. I hate, because I love the part where it speeds up. I love when the piano picks up. I love the drums coming in. Time going, whoa, whoa, great stuff. And then it just cuts out and goes back to the old thing again, and then I'm upset. And I'm like, what? Why did you even bother?
It's kind of what I mean by I pick up on the themes more than the composition, because I feel like it just kind of flopped. Like, I think the song is fine for the most part, but I just, if I was going to listen to the song, I would be listening to it for more of what it's actually saying rather than the music. And I think that's a theme for the entire album for me. If I were to pick I think there's only like one or two songs on this album I would pick if I were like to listen, I mean, compared to other Radiohead albums, because I think the composition just in general took a bit of a step down for me. Maybe not compared to Amnesiac, but like Kid A and OK Computer, I thought it took a step down.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, a lot of Amnesiac and Hail to the Thief are maybe closer knit than a lot of people think. I told you about the thing with I Will and like spinning plates, but Life in a Glass House could very easily be a Hail to the Thief track. I Will could very easily have been an Amnesiac track. Like, there's a lot of, I feel like that it's fairly easily, and just because both are very like dismal at times, whereas Amnesiac's a bit more down in the dumps about it, and like tired. Hail to the Thief's more aggressive. Tom York, in an interview, put it as like he was the little barking dog on Hail to the Thief, which I thought was funny. But yeah, no, I think that's true. I generally, if I return to this record, I think it's for its more listenable moments, as they're more upbeat and, I guess, stimulating than some, although generally I would say there's a better record for that coming up. But Hail to the Thief is nice. When I want to change things up, it doesn't usually disappoint. But I'm getting off track. What are those two songs?
Well, the first one, there are two songs that come at the end of the album. The first one is, I can't say it right.
Myxomatosis?
Myxomatosis?
Yes. Okay, fair.
And the reason for that is that it is just so fucking fun to listen to.
That synth is
so fun to listen to.
grimy. It's so cool.
Radiohead is they're embedding bugs into your ears. That's what they're doing to the entire song.
They're giving
It's
you
so
myxomatosis. They're putting in the
They
brainworms.
They're making
dude.
you go crazy.
Yeah.
They're giving you the disease.
Yeah.
And I just like it because of that. Like, I don't think it's okay. I struggle to say if it's like one of the best composition things on the album, because it gets kind of the buzz, but I just think it's so fun and so distinct.
Yeah.
I just can't help but love it.
Yeah.
It's just so fun. It makes me wish, like, if they can do a cool idea like that, I wish they did more, because it was just so fun. It was very distinct.
True.
I don't know.
Also,
I liked it a lot, but
I didn't cut you off, did I? I'll cry. Did I?
I also like the theme of this one.
Yeah.
I like it. I like how it talks about the band's relationship with celebrity culture in the media.
No one
thought
likes a
that was fun.
smartass, but we all like stars.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was cool. I think it's funny to do that in the Bug song. I thought it was funny, but I think it's cool. I
Yeah.
really fucked with it.
I also really like the chorus on it. That kind of gets stuck in my head.
Yes.
don't
Yes.
know why I feel so tongue tied. That's fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's just fun.
What's the second one? Is it Wolf at the Door, or is it
second one,
Scatterbrain?
It's Wolf at the Door.
Wolf at the Door. Ooh, a spicy meatball.
I'm gonna go on the record and say that I fucking adore Tom's change in style, and I hope he continues to do it. I loved it so much. I thought it was such a breath of fresh air, and exactly what Radiohead needed to do to keep me
Ooh.
like invested in the music. And I kind of wish. It's a perfect closer song, but I kind of wish they had almost put it earlier in the record, so it kind of revitalized me to keep listening to it. I love the way it ties. I feel like it ties more into the instrumentation too. I feel like the way he just keeps running along with it, never almost giving himself like a moment to
that's
breathe.
true.
It feels more cohesive, and it feels more like a charge. I don't know how to describe it. It feels just more. I don't know, put together. I'm trying.
No, no,
the word eludes
I get
me.
it. It is like compositionally, I think, one of the most simple songs on the record, but it is different, so it doesn't really feel that way. And also, like you said, I feel like it does what it does very well. I love it. I don't think it's my favorite on the record. It's up there though. I do love Wolf at the Door. And it really gives the ending of the record, and to be fair, this kind of happens on other songs, but it kind of puts this record under a kind of almost like fairy tale kind of tone at times, especially obviously Wolf at the Door being a reference to Three Little Pigs. But I love I love the lyrics on the chorus, how it puts a little twist on it. He calls me on the phone, tells me all the ways that he's gonna mess me up. I think that's kind of funny. Obviously, it's the wolf in this case is like the government or something like that. But
He's hiding from the government.
No, stop! Don't do it. No. We can't have you spiraling this episode.
That's my secret, Cap.
I'm always spiraling. No. I will say though, both of those songs are great, and this is like my freak take on the record. Besides maybe the fact that I don't really care for They're There. But there is a track that I like more than both of them, and it's the one that sits in between. I love Scatterbrain. It's one of my favorite songs on the record. I think because of you had mentioned how it takes like how you liked which song was it? Was it Myxomatosis? One of the songs. You said how it takes the broader themes and makes it more personal. Scatterbrain is that for me.
It was We Suck Young Blood.
It was what?
It was We Suck Young Blood.
Right, it was We Suck Young Blood. Scatterbrain is that better for me. It doesn't really have any crazy progression or blow up, but I think it's really pretty. I love Tom's vocal delivery on it, and some of the imagery in that song is great. And also, I think it's just it's a song that I personally connect with a lot. Because I'm a scatterbrain. No, because like it paints this picture to me of like walking through. Like it maybe it's raining or it's overcast and things are kind of just look like they're falling apart. Not actively, but in the way like you're walking through a city and everything's just kind of a mess. It feels like that to me. But if in a very like calm and quaint way. And I don't know. Like I love Scatterbrain. It's I don't really know how else to put it. There's not much else I can really say. It's a pretty simple song. Yeah.
You have a lot more to say on it than me, because I didn't write much about it. It was just kind of there for me. Like I listened to it, I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was like staying out. I didn't think it was like a bad song. It was just kind of there.
Yeah, no.
I think the reason for that is just because I think the message that's kind of like portraying is, I'm not in control. I feel like life is just such a fucking windstorm hurricane is one that's been done before. I feel like even in Radiohead itself, it's been done before.
Yeah, no, it's not a unique song. I wouldn't say that. It's just one that I like. It does the formula well.
I think the reason for my like kind of
neutrality,
past neutrality to it, is because it's the 13th song in a 14-song record.
Fair.
I'm gonna go. Okay, here's a controversial take. This record should have been shorter.
And that's not a controversial take. Everybody says that.
Too fucking long. They should have at least had it. Remove like 4 or 5 of these songs. We could live without them because they're just more individual ideas and like all of them building to a greater picture. They're more like bullet points to a main course to me. It's just like, no. By the time I get to this song, if you're not doing something like Myxomatosis or Wolf at the Door, I'm tapping out. I can't. I'm done. It's
I don't know.
Too long.
I hear that take all the time. I kind of don't agree entirely. I do think that it's very idea filled, and I think that's why people say that it's bloated, because that's like you said it was a controversial take. It's not. Everybody says Hail to the Thief is bloated. Not. I don't mean to burst your bubble.
If the people,
you have the court of public opinion.
But
let me say my piece, man.
Devil's advocate.
Anyway, I actually like. I don't know. I don't like. Every time I think like that, I kind of think of like, okay, well, what am I going to remove? And I'm like, and I can't think of what I would remove. I mean, there are tracks that are worse than others, but I think they all kind of play a part. And I like the ideas they're all going for. I think if the record if it was going to do something like that, it would have to be radical. It couldn't be 1 or 2 songs. It would have to be like half the record. If it was going to, it would have to lock in on an idea, which I'm saying because the next record kind of does that. This is their longest album. Besides The King of Limbs, the next album is their shortest.
I mean, what they could have done was just pull a Kid A amnesiac treatment and just take like half the songs away and just throw it in another
is that
album
right?
as do it call it like the brother sister album. I think they should just do that if they're gonna do it. That way the music still exists. We're not getting rid of it, and we can probably make it still like they're clearly part of like the same picture, but we're not gonna miss out on them. The ones that people like.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, no, sorry. In Rainbows is a solid. In Rainbows is 23 seconds longer than Pablo Honey. I apologize. Didn't mean to spread misinformation on the internet.
Yeah, we would never do that.
So it's the third.
We know
It's
exactly
the third
what we're talking
shortest.
about when it comes to everything.
But it's much shorter than Hail to the Thief. I mean, In Rainbows is 42 and a half minutes. Hail to the Thief, if I can go back to it, is 56 and a half minutes. So 14 minutes longer. And it does show, but I don't think it's the length is necessarily its problem. I do think it is just that some tracks lack in quality compared to others. And that's,
you got to consider too. Again, the word repetitive comes up as you kind of just start going on, and you kind of see what they're doing. It takes a bit of effort on the part of the listener to just remain invested. At least it did for me. It sometimes came back. It waxed and waned. When it got to parts like We Suck Blood and The Gloaming, I was kind of pulled in. Then like for the next few tracks, I kind of was going out a little bit. I feel like it's not impossible to make an album that's this long work. I've listened to ones longer than this.
Oh yeah,
I've enjoyed them thoroughly.
I literally
it's just making use of time.
I just today, finally, after like, this is a little side tangent, but after like a year of saying that I'd do it, I finally listened to Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. That's a double album. It's an hour and 45 minutes long, and not a second of it was wasted. So it is definitely possible.
Stevie Wonder.
True. But it is definitely possible to make a longer record work. In fact, a common argument that I say that time's not the problem for Hail to the Thief. Hail to the Thief is 56 minutes. A Moon-Shaped Pool is 52 minutes. OK Computer is 53 minutes. It's not much longer than those records. But they feel so much tighter than Hail to the Thief does, and there's a reason for that. Yep. It's not necessarily how long it is, it's how it uses its time. But all that shitting on Hail to the Thief to say, I still love how much variety there is on it. And I think its highs really propel it for me. And just in general, like, I think Hail to the Thief marked an end of a little era with Kid A, Amnesiac, and then Hail to the Thief at the end. And kind of Tom York's first solo album, which I think is just actually a better version of Hail to the Thief. I love The Eraser. I will have it on the show with you one day. Not soon, probably, because I think we're going to take a break from Mr. York after Radiohead. But, yeah.
After Radiohead?
Yeah. Well, there's more.
Okay.
You fool.
Okay.
You fool.
I know there's more.
There's The Smile. There's a solo stuff. There's Atoms for Peace.
Why don't we talk about how many times that Tom York says the word suck during this album?
He does. He's a sucker on this record.
Bro's got a lollipop in his mouth during all the recording sessions. They couldn't get him out. It was a big swirly lollipop, and said, "You got to put it down, Tom." He said, "No,
hey,
I'm going to stick it to the man. Literally, I'm going to take this lollipop. I'm going to stick it to the president's head."
Maybe that's why they
actually say that. That's misinformation.
That's the album's all like fairy tale themed, and it's all colorful, and he sucks because he's sucking all. He's a little kid. It's Kid York.
Yeah, and
that's why he's so angry.
Screens,
Yeah, he's just like a teenager. He's just all like
a teenager.
Yeah,
a teenager sucking on a lollipop with a propeller cap. I think he's more like 5.
Have you been to it? Have you been to a Death Grips concert? I mean, you haven't, but there was an amusing.
Do they do that at Death Grips concert?
A lot of people go to
fuck?
Death Grips concerts wearing propeller hats and.
What the fuck?
It's hilarious. Because it's funny. Because who the fuck would do that? It's hilarious because it's like one of the most intense musical projects, and people will just show up in like suspenders with a. That's the funniest thing.
Oh my god, we have to go to a Death Grips concert. I don't care.
I've been to one. I almost lost my hearing there. It was an experience, but that's a story for another day.
I need to see that. I need to see that.
I think I might have videos, but point is, all this to say, Hail to the Thief is a very unique Radiohead record, and I think it should be discussed more. as it's kind of exists in its own lane, even though you can connect it with other works. Like, I think it kind of starts some things that get far expanded on in Rainbows. It has similar ideas to Amnesiac and Kid A and OK Computer, but I do think it stands on its own. It's the angry one. It's the shouty one. It's the political one. Everybody knows it that way. And honestly, though, I think the worst way it sticks out is that it's in an album run, and it's not as good as the other albums in the run. Like, you got OK Computer, you got Kid A, you got Hail to the Thief, and then you've got In Rainbows, right? So
notice how you skipped Amnesiac.
Well, okay, because Amnesiac's looped in with Kid A. It's the same era. I put them together. The band put them together. They released the anniversary for both under one thing. It's Kid Amnesia.
My per color cap.
You think you're some kind of comedian? Huh? You think you're clever?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I do.
Okay.
I like to think I
All right. Yeah, I won't rain on your parade. Anyway, but despite that, I quite enjoy the record. I think it's one that's quite slept on by a lot of people. And I would actually give Hail to the Thief an 87. I think it's quite good.
All right. I've decided on my grade, and I'm gonna have to explain myself for this one because it might be a bit controversial. I do like this album. I like what it's done. I like a lot of the ideas, but I'm gonna compare it to let's say food. I think this album has a lot of ideas in the way food can have a lot of stock, like a base, a basis to make a fine stew with. But I don't think all the time the flavor is there. I don't think sometimes it's cooked to perfection. And I think this album would probably be, out of any that we've listened to so far, the most prime for a remaster or a reimagining. If they were to work on it again, to work on some ideas, kind of flesh some things out, make some of the weaker tracks stick out more, make some of the stronger tracks, just kind of gild the edges of those. I think that would push it up so high, because it's gonna get the same problem as I think Amnesiac with me. Some of the ideas, they're just not fully formed for me. They're not everything's there, but there's a lot more basis here than I think than Amnesiac for something amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But ideas do not carry a record for me. It is composition and music always, and lyrics second, because when I'm listening to music, I like to listen to music, and it doesn't always do that for me. That's why I'm going to give it a 78.
Ooh. Yowie. That's the lowest Radiohead rating for sure. That's fair. I mean, I get why people don't enjoy this record. I think I just personally very like it. I will say, though, something that I haven't checked out myself, in fact, I don't even know if it's actually happened yet. All I know is that it is that for the 20th anniversary of Hail to the Thief, they were doing a reimagining of Hamlet with Hail to the Thief as kind of like merging the two ideas. And I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's happened yet, because from what I remember, it was very late when they started announcing it. Like, they announced it last year, which is technically 21. But either way, I'm quite curious because, like I said, it kind of has a sort of fable-y feeling to it at times, and I'd really be curious how it connects with Hamlet. But that's...
I'm trying to think. I don't know how that would work.
Me neither.
I don't know.
But I'm really curious. But yeah, so in general... Oh, not in general. That's all I really got to say.
Yep.
Next week, we are going to be reviewing this record in preparation for the new record from this artist coming out at some date, sometime. Wait.
I'm so sorry. I just smacked my microphone.
No, it's okay.
That was just not nice.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, we'll do that. So yeah, this next video is going to be preparing for a new album coming out from this artist. No, it is not Car Seat Headrest. I don't know why I was pointing at the camera. They can see what album it is. But there's another artist dropping at some point that I'm highly anticipating, and I want to get you on it before that album comes out so we can do it for the show. But yeah, that's going to be all. If you stay tuned, in 2 weeks, we're going to be back at it with the Radiohead gang with my favorite album of all time, favorite Radiohead album, In Rainbows. By far my most anticipated episode. I can't wait. But yeah. Anything else you'd like to say to our lovely audience, Bucko?
If you're gonna leave me a pin next time, please God, do more funny cat pictures. I did like that.
That was pretty funny. Goodbye, everybody.
I like the one with like the one that's really close to its face with like the wet lips where he's like pursing its lips. I like that one. That one's pretty good.
Gross.
I like the one with like the little scraggly screaming kitten. That one was good too.
That's pretty funny. There's some good ones.
You could do Bingus. I like Bingus.
Oh, Bingus is great. Yeah. Bye.
That's it.